The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber shuddered as another wave of energy struck the station's shields. Ambassador Zara 7 gripped the edge of her floating platform, her blue-scaled hands trembling not from the impact, but from the terrible news she was about to deliver. "Honored delegates," her voice echoed through the vast chamber where representatives from 1,000 worlds hovered on their individual platforms. "The Void Reapers have broken through the Andromeda Gate. They will reach the Milky Way in 72 hours. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. The Kethran delegate, a towering insectoid creature with 4 arms, clicked his mandibles in distress. "How many ships?" 50 million war vessels, Zara 7 replied, her voice barely steady. "Each one capable of cracking a planet in half." The chamber fell silent except for the distant rumble of weapons fire as the station's defenses held against another assault. Everyone knew what this meant. The Void Reapers had already consumed 3 galaxies, leaving nothing but empty space and drifting debris where billions of civilizations once thrived. But Counselor Thex of the Rigel Empire raised a tentacle, his voice cutting through the fear. "There is one option we haven't discussed. The humans." Several delegates recoiled in horror. The Altarian ambassador, her crystalline form flickering with agitation, spoke first. "You cannot be serious, Thex. They are barely out of their gravity wells. Their technology is primitive. Their ships are held together with metal and hope. And yet," Thex continued, his massive eye focusing on each delegate in turn, "they are the only species in recorded history to have defeated the Void Reapers in direct combat." The chamber erupted in debate. Some delegates shouted that it was impossible. Others argued that the humans had simply been lucky. But Zara 7 remembered the classified reports from the Proxima incident 3 years ago. A single human vessel, the UNSC Defiance, had somehow destroyed an entire Void Reaper scout fleet of 300 ships. The official report claimed it was a spatial anomaly, but Zara 7 had read the real files. The humans had done something unprecedented, something that terrified even the ancient council races. They had made the Void Reapers retreat. "The humans don't even know we exist," the Vegan delegate protested, his gas-filled environment suit pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "How can we ask them to fight a war they cannot comprehend?" Zara 7 straightened, her decision made. "Then we reveal ourselves. We tell them everything, and we pray to whatever gods still listen that they say yes." Another explosion rocked the gay station, and the lights flickered. Through the dome's transparent walls, they could see the battle raging in the void beyond. Council ships, each one a masterwork of technology developed over millennia, were being systematically destroyed by sleek black vessels that seemed to absorb light itself. "The station's shields are failing," the AI announced in its calm, emotionless voice. "Hull breach in Sector 7, evacuation protocol initiated." Zara 7 looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who represented the accumulated wisdom and power of the galaxy, and in every one of those faces she saw the same thing she felt in her own heart: terror. "I will go to Earth," she announced. "I will make contact with the humans and explain our situation." "You'll start a panic," the Andromedian delegate warned. "Their species is notoriously unstable. They might attack you on sight." "Or they might surprise us all," Zara 7 replied. "They always have before." As she spoke, her aide rushed to her platform with a data tablet. His face was pale, and his hand shook as he handed it to her. Zara 7 read the message, and her blood turned to ice. "What is it?" Thex demanded. Zara 7 looked up at the assembled delegates, knowing that what she was about to say would change everything. "The Void Reapers, they're not heading for our core worlds first. They're going straight for Earth." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Then, as the implications sank in, panic began to spread like wildfire. "They know," the Altarian ambassador whispered. "Somehow, they know about the humans." And as if summoned by their fears, the station's communications array crackled to life. A voice filled the chamber, not spoken, but transmitted directly into their minds. It was the voice of the Void Reapers' collective consciousness, cold and absolute. The anomaly will be eliminated. The pattern must not spread. Earth dies first. Chapter 2. First Contact Protocol. Dr. Sarah Chen was having what she thought was a perfectly normal Tuesday morning at the Deep Space Monitoring Station in Chile when the universe decided to turn upside down. She was sipping her third cup of coffee, analyzing radio signals from the Tau Ceti system, when every screen in the facility suddenly went white. What the hell? Her colleague, Dr. Marcus Webb, frantically typed on his keyboard. Sarah, are you seeing this? Before she could answer, the white light resolved into the image of a blue-scaled humanoid figure. The being was clearly not human, but there was something oddly familiar about her posture. The way she held herself spoke of authority and desperation in equal measure. People of Earth, the figure began, her voice somehow speaking perfect English despite her obviously alien features. My name is Ambassador Zara 7 of the Galactic Council. I am transmitting this message to every communication device on your planet. We need your help. Sarah's coffee mug slipped from her numb fingers and shattered on the floor. Across the globe, 8 billion human beings stopped what they were doing and stared at screens, phones, and displays as Zara 7 continued her impossible broadcast. Your species exists in a galaxy teeming with intelligent life. For 3 million years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace among over 50,000 civilizations. We have watched your development with great interest, but we have followed a policy of non-interference until now. In the White House Situation Room, President Martinez turned to her Chief of Staff. Please tell me this is some kind of elaborate hoax. Ma'am, we've checked every possible source. This signal is being broadcast from a point in space approximately 1 million kilometers above our North Pole. There's nothing there on any of our sensors. Until now, Zara 7 continued, we believed that warfare between galactic civilizations was a thing of the ancient past. We were wrong. A force known as the Void Reapers has emerged from the space between galaxies. They have already consumed the Andromeda Galaxy and 2 others. They are coming here. The image shifted to show what looked like surveillance footage from space. Massive black ships, each one the size of a city, moved through the void in perfect formation. As they watched, one of the ships approached a planet covered in gleaming cities and fired a single beam of dark energy. The world simply ceased to exist, leaving only empty space. They will arrive at Earth in 71 hours, Zara 7 said. Their fleet consists of 50 million warships. Every military analysis suggests that they cannot be stopped by conventional means. Back in Chile, Dr. Chen found her voice. Marcus, are you recording this? Every word, he replied, his face pale. But Sarah, look at the energy readings. Whatever's transmitting this signal, it's using more power than our entire electrical grid. Zara 7's image flickered slightly as she continued. However, our records show that your species has encountered the Void Reapers before. 3 years ago, one of your vessels destroyed an entire Reaper scout fleet. We need to know how you did it. That's impossible, President Martinez muttered. We don't have any ships that could... She stopped as her military advisor, General Hayes, leaned over to whisper in her ear. His face had gone completely white. What is it, General? Ma'am, 3 years ago we lost contact with the UNSC Defiance. During a deep space patrol, it was classified as destroyed. But the captain's final transmission, he said they were under attack by unknown vessels. Then the signal cut out. And? The thing is, ma'am, Captain Morrison was known for his unconventional tactics. If anyone could have pulled off something impossible. On the screens, Zara 7's expression grew more urgent. We are prepared to share our technology with your species. We can show you wonders beyond imagination. But first, we need to know your secret. We need to know how you made them afraid. Afraid? Dr. Chen whispered. She's saying we made them afraid? The transmission continued. A Galactic Council ship is approaching your moon. I will be aboard along with representatives from 12 other species. We are requesting permission to land and meet with your leaders. We know this is unprecedented. We know it's frightening, but please understand, if we cannot find a way to work together, both our civilizations will be extinct within the week. The image began to fade, but not before Zara 7 added one final chilling detail. The Void Reapers are not coming for our worlds first. They're coming for Earth. Somehow they know about your encounter with their scouts. You are their primary target. The transmission ended, leaving the entire planet in stunned silence. In the Situation Room, President Martinez turned to her assembled advisors. Options? We could launch everything we have, General Hayes suggested. Every nuke, every missile. Against 50 million ships? The President shook her head. There has to be another way. Secretary of State Williams spoke up. What if we let them land? This Ambassador Zara 7. What if she's telling the truth? Or what if this is the invasion? Countered the CIA director. What if the Void Reapers are using this as a distraction while they position for attack? President Martinez stood and walked to the window, looking up at the sky where, somewhere beyond the blue, alien ships were approaching their moon. Get me Captain Morrison's file. Everything we have on the Defiance incident, and somebody find me our best xenobiologist. Ma'am, General Hayes interjected, we don't have any xenobiologists. Until an hour ago, we didn't believe aliens existed, the Mo way. President almost smiled. Then find me our best theoretical xenobiologist. This is happening whether we're ready or not. Meanwhile, in orbit around the moon, Ambassador Zara 7 stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the blue-green world below. Her aide approached with another data tablet. Ambassador, we're receiving thousands of radio transmissions from Earth. Most are panicked communications, but several appear to be attempts at making contact. Any responses from their governments? Not yet, but our sensors are picking up increased military activity across the planet. Their primitive fusion weapons are being moved into position. Zara 7 felt a familiar chill. Every species they'd ever contacted had gone through this same process. Fear, followed by aggressive posturing, followed by either cooperation or conflict. But the humans were different. They had to be. They were the only species that had ever made the Void Reapers retreat. How long until the Reapers arrive, she asked. 68 hours, 43 minutes. She looked at Earth again, this small blue world that might hold the key to saving the galaxy. Prepare the shuttle. We're going down. Ambassador, what if they attack us? Zara 7 touched the side of her neck, where a small device would instantly vaporize her if she were captured. It was standard protocol for first contact missions. Then we hope they're as clever as they are violent. Chapter 3. The Morrison Files Captain. Jake Morrison had been dead for 3 years, according to official records. But as President Martinez reviewed his classified files in the secured briefing room beneath the White House, she began to suspect that the truth was far more complicated. Morrison was brilliant, General Hayes explained, pulling up holographic displays of the man's service record. Top of his class at the academy, expert in theoretical physics and absolutely fearless in combat. But he was also completely unpredictable. The president studied the photo of a rugged man in his 40s with intense blue eyes and a slight smile that suggested he knew secrets nobody else did. What happened on his last mission? The Defiance was conducting a routine deep space patrol near the edge of the solar system when they encountered something. Morrison's final transmission was fragmented, but we managed to piece together most of it. Hayes activated an audio file and Morrison's voice filled the room, crackling with static and interference. Command, this is Morrison. We are under attack by unknown vessels. I repeat, unknown vessels. They're not like anything in our databases. Black ships, no energy signatures, and they're firing some kind of dark energy weapon that... The transmission cut to static, then Morrison's voice returned, but he sounded different. Excited. Command, disregard previous transmission. We've found something incredible. The attackers, they're not just using dark energy. They're using some kind of quantum entanglement field that... Sarah, can you confirm these readings? A woman's voice responded in the background. Captain, the energy patterns don't match anything in known physics. It's like they're pulling power directly from the vacuum itself. Beautiful. Morrison's voice came through clearly. Command, we're going to try something. If this works, it could change everything. If it doesn't, well, tell my wife I love her. Static filled the channel for several minutes. Then Morrison returned one final time. Command, Morrison here. Package. Delivered. Repeat, package delivered. The big uglies are running scared. Sarah's got all the data recorded, we're coming home. That was the last anyone had heard from the UNSC Defiance. What do you think he meant by package delivered? President Martinez asked. We never found out, Hayes admitted. The Defiance never returned to any of our bases. We assumed it was destroyed. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the theoretical physicist they'd hastily recruited as their xenobiologist, looked up from her tablet. Mr. President, I've been analyzing the audio. There's something strange about the background noise in Morrison's transmissions. Strange. How? It's not random static, there's a pattern to it, almost like music. She played the filtered audio, and indeed beneath the crackling interference was a subtle, haunting melody that seemed to rise and fall in complex harmonies. That's impossible, General Hayes said. Our ships don't carry any equipment that could generate those frequencies. Maybe it wasn't coming from our ship, Dr. Vasquez suggested quietly. Before anyone could respond, an aide burst into the room. Mr. President, we have a situation. The alien ship is requesting permission to land. Where? The South Lawn. In about 10 minutes. President Martinez felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. In the next few minutes, she would either make first contact with an alien civilization or potentially surrender her planet to an unknown threat. Do we have any defenses in place? Marines are positioned around the perimeter, General Hayes confirmed, and we have air support on standby. But ma'am, if their technology is as advanced as that broadcast suggests, I know, our weapons probably won't make a difference. She straightened her shoulders. But we're not going down without a fight. If this goes wrong, at least let it be said that humanity faced the unknown with courage. Outside, the entire world watched as a sleek silver craft descended from the clouds toward the White House. It was beautiful in its simplicity. No visible weapons, no harsh angles, just smooth curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal. The ship touched down silently on the South Lawn, and for a moment nothing happened. Then a section of the hull simply melted away, revealing a ramp that extended to the ground. Ambassador Zara 7 appeared first, flanked by two other beings that were clearly not of Earth. One was tall and insectoid, with 4 arms and multifaceted eyes. The other was humanoid but made of what appeared to be living crystal, its body refracting light into rainbow patterns. They walked slowly toward the White House, their hands visible and empty. Zara 7 carried a small device that projected a sphere of soft blue light around the group. President Martinez met them at the entrance, flanked by her security detail and key advisors. For a moment, the two groups simply stared at each other across the vast gulf of species and space. Then Zara 7 spoke, her voice carrying easily across the distance. President Martinez, thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I am Ambassador Zara 7. These are my colleagues, Counselor Crix of the Kethran Empire and Scholar Lumina of the Altarian Collective. Ambassador, the President replied formally. You'll forgive me if I'm not sure about the proper protocol for this situation. Zara 7's expression showed what might have been amusement. There is no protocol. In 3 million years of Galactic Council history, we have never had to ask a non-member species to save the galaxy. About that, Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. In your broadcast, you mentioned that we had encountered these Void Reapers before. We need to know exactly what you know about that encounter. The insectoid Counselor Crix clicked his mandibles and spoke in a buzzing voice that was somehow translated into perfect English. Your vessel, the UNSC Defiance, destroyed 300 Void Reaper ships using an unknown weapon system. Our sensors recorded the entire engagement. That's impossible, General Hayes protested. The Defiance was a patrol ship. It carried only conventional weapons. Scholar Lumina's crystalline form pulsed with different colors as she spoke. The weapon signature was unlike anything in our databases. It appeared to destabilize the quantum structure of the Reaper ships, causing them to collapse into nothingness. President Martinez felt a chill run down her spine. Do you have recordings of this engagement? We do, Zara 7 confirmed. But first, we need to discuss the current situation. The Void Reapers will arrive in 65 hours. They are coming here first, specifically to Earth. We believe they view your species as a threat to their expansion. How do you know this? Because they told us, Zara 7 replied grimly. They communicate through a collective consciousness that spans their entire species. Before they destroyed our monitoring station, they made their intentions clear. Earth dies first. The president looked at her advisors, seeing her own fear reflected in their faces. What do you need from us? We need to know how Captain Morrison destroyed those ships. We need to understand the technology you used. And we need to know if you can replicate it on a larger scale. General Hayes shook his head. But Morrison and his ship are gone. We have no idea what happened to them. Zara 7 exchanged glances with her companions. About that, we may have some information that will interest you. She activated a device on her wrist, and a holographic display appeared in the air between them. It showed a star map with various colored dots representing different systems. This is the current location of the UNSC Defiance, she said, pointing to a blue dot near the edge of the map. It's in the Vega system, approximately 25 light-years from Earth. The room fell silent. Then General Hayes found his voice. You're saying Morrison and his crew are still alive? Very much so. In fact, they've been quite busy. Over the past 3 years, they've been working with a group of refugee civilizations to develop new weapons against the Void Reapers. The problem is... What problem? President Martinez demanded. Zara 7's expression grew troubled. The problem is that Morrison has refused all contact with the Galactic Council. He seems to believe that we're somehow responsible for the Void Reaper invasion, and given that the Reapers are coming for Earth first, he may not be entirely wrong. As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the White House. An aide rushed in with a secure tablet. Mr. President, NORAD is reporting massive energy signatures, appearing at the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of them. Zara 7 checked her own device and her face went pale. That's impossible. They're not supposed to arrive for another 60 hours. Scholar Lumina's crystalline form flickered rapidly as she processed incoming data. Ambassador, the Reapers have deployed a temporal acceleration field. They're approaching at near light speed. How long do we have? President Martinez asked. Zara 7 looked up from her device, her expression grim. 6 hours, maybe less. And somewhere in the Vega system, aboard a battered human warship that had become something more than its creators ever imagined, Captain Jake Morrison felt the familiar tingle of quantum sensors detecting massive energy signatures in his home system. He turned to his science officer, the same woman whose voice had been heard in his final transmission to Earth 3 years ago. Sarah, tell me you've got good news. Dr. Sarah Kim, formerly of the UNSC Defiance and now something entirely new, looked up from her console with a grim smile. The weapon is ready, Captain, but we're going to need to get back to Earth first. Then let's go home, Morrison said, settling into his captain's chair. Time to show these Reapers what humanity can really do. Viewership Chapter 4. The Defiance Returns. The first sign that something had changed was the music. Dr. Elena Vasquez was monitoring Earth's deep space sensors when she heard it. The same haunting melody that had been hidden in Morrison's final transmission, but now it was clear and strong, transmitted on frequencies that shouldn't have been possible for human technology to generate. President Martinez needs to see this, she whispered to her assistant. Now, in the White House Situation Room, Ambassador, Zara 7 was explaining the tactical situation when every screen in the room suddenly flickered. The star charts and battle projections were replaced by the image of a man in a modified military uniform, standing on what was clearly the bridge of a starship. But it wasn't any starship design in human records. Captain Jake Morrison looked older than in his service photos, his hair touched with silver, and his eyes holding depths that spoke of experiences beyond ordinary human understanding. Behind him, the bridge hummed with technology that seemed to blend human engineering with something far more advanced. Hello, Earth, Morrison said, his voice carrying clearly through the communications array. Sorry I'm late for the party. President Martinez stepped forward. Captain Morrison, We thought you were dead. I got better, Morrison replied with a slight smile. Though I'm not sure I'm entirely human anymore. We have a lot to talk about, but first, we need to deal with our visitors. On the tactical displays, the Void Reaper fleet was now clearly visible as a massive dark cloud at the edge of the solar system. 50 million ships, each one a monument to destruction, moving inexorably toward Earth. Captain, General Hayes interrupted, our analysis shows that the Reaper fleet will reach Earth in less than 4 hours. Even if you have some kind of advanced weapon, General, with respect, your analysis is about 3 years out of date, Morrison said. Sarah, show them what we've been working on. The image split to reveal Dr. Sarah Kim standing beside a massive piece of equipment that looked like a fusion of human engineering and something that might have been grown rather than built. Hello, everyone. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. Ambassador Zara 7 stepped into view of the camera. Captain Morrison, I am Ambassador Zara 7 of the Galactic Council. We've been trying to contact you for... I know who you are, Ambassador. Morrison's voice took on a harder edge. And I know why you're here. You want to know how we beat the... Reapers. 50 million ships, Captain, Zara 7 said urgently. Even if your new weapon is as powerful as our records suggest... Our records? Morrison laughed, but there was no humor in it. Tell me, Ambassador, what do your records say about where the Void Reapers came from? The chamber fell silent. Zara 7's expression grew troubled. They emerged from the void between galaxies, a force of pure destruction with no known origin. Wrong, Morrison said flatly. Dr. Kim, show them the real data. Sarah activated her console and new images appeared on the screens. They showed star charts, energy patterns, and what looked like archaeological data from dozens of worlds. The Void Reapers aren't invaders, Sarah explained. They're prisoners. Someone or something imprisoned them in the space between galaxies, millions of years ago. And recently they escaped. Counselor Crix's mandibles clicked rapidly. Impossible. Our records go back 3 million years. There's no mention of any civilization capable of such power. That's because you erased them, Morrison said quietly. All of them. Every species that showed too much promise. Every civilization that developed beyond your comfort zone. You called it maintaining galactic stability. The Reapers called it genocide. Ambassador Zara 7 recoiled as if she'd been struck. Captain, you're talking about events that supposedly happened before recorded history. Even if such civilizations existed, they did exist, Morrison interrupted. And they built the Reapers as their final weapon, a force designed to ensure that if they were destroyed, their killers would eventually face justice. The implications hit everyone in the room simultaneously. President Martinez found her voice first. You're saying the Galactic Council created this threat? Not directly, Sarah Kim explained. But yes, essentially. The Reapers were designed to activate when their creators' oppressors had achieved sufficient technological development. They've been waiting for the Galactic Council to become vulnerable. But why Earth? Dr. Vasquez asked. Why are they coming here first? Morrison's expression softened slightly. Because we figured out how to communicate with them. 3 years ago when we encountered that scout fleet, we didn't destroy them. We talked to them. The room erupted in shocked exclamations, but Morrison continued. The Reapers aren't mindless destroyers. They're incredibly intelligent and they're tired. They've been carrying out their programming for millions of years, consuming galaxies because that's what they were designed to do, but they want to stop. Then why are they still coming? General Hayes demanded. Because they can't stop, Sarah explained. Their programming is hardwired into their quantum matrix. They literally cannot choose to stop destroying until their mission is complete. Unless what? President Martinez leaned forward. Morrison's image smiled for the first time. Unless someone can reprogram them. And as it turns out, humans have a unique talent for breaking supposedly unbreakable systems. Ambassador Zara 7 was studying her instruments, her expression growing increasingly alarmed. Captain, this is fascinating, but the Reaper fleet will arrive in 3 hours. Even if what you're saying is true, it's already starting. Morrison interrupted. Look at your sensors. On the tactical display, something impossible was happening. The massive dark cloud of the Void Reaper fleet was slowing down. Ships were breaking formation, and energy signatures were changing from their previous unified pattern to something more chaotic. We've been broadcasting to them continuously for the past 6 hours, Sarah explained. Not threats or demands, but music, mathematics, poetry, art, everything that makes humanity unique. Scholar Lumina's crystalline form pulsed rapidly. That's impossible. The Reapers don't respond to communication. They only destroy. They respond to us, Morrison said simply. Because we're the first species they've encountered that understands what it's like to be enslaved by our own creations. He paused, and when he continued, his voice carried the weight of 3 years of impossible experiences. Every human technology from fire to nuclear weapons has the potential to destroy us. We live every day with the knowledge that our own ingenuity might be our doom. The Reapers recognize that. They see something in us that they've never encountered before. Kinship, President Martinez whispered. Exactly. And that's given us the key to reprogramming them. But we need help. The process requires a massive amount of computational power and precision, more than one ship can provide. Zara 7 checked her instruments again. The fleet is definitely slowing, but they're still approaching. How do we know they won't simply destroy Earth once they arrive? Because they're not all agreeing with each other anymore, Morrison explained. For the first time in millions of years, individual Reaper consciousness are asserting themselves. They're having arguments. And some of them are choosing to support our reprogramming efforts. As if to prove his point, the tactical display showed several Reaper ships breaking away from the main fleet and taking up positions that were clearly defensive rather than aggressive. Captain, General Hayes said urgently, what do you need from us? First, I need every computer on Earth linked into a single network. Every smartphone, every laptop, every gaming console. We're going to need distributed processing power on a scale never attempted before. Dr. Vasquez was already working on her tablet. That's theoretically possible. We'd need to use the internet backbone, but the latency issues alone. We've solved the latency problem, Sarah said. Quantum entanglement communication. We can link every device on the planet instantaneously. Second, Morrison continued, we need every human on Earth to participate. The reprogramming isn't just about computational power. It's about showing the Reapers what conscious choice looks like, what free will means. President Martinez felt the magnitude of what he was asking. You want 8 billion people to help reprogram alien war machines that are designed to destroy civilizations. I want 8 billion people to choose to help, Morrison corrected. That's the key. The Reapers were programmed by beings who believed that superior civilizations had the right to control inferior ones. They can only be reprogrammed by beings who choose to act despite having no obligation to do so. Ambassador Zara 7 was monitoring the approach of the Reaper fleet on her instruments. Captain, we have less than 2 hours before they reach Earth orbit. Can this really work? Morrison's image flickered slightly as his ship moved closer to Earth. I don't know. We've never tried anything like this before, but I know one thing for certain. If we don't try, everyone dies. Earth, the Galactic Council, everyone. And if we do try and fail? Morrison's smile was grim but determined. Then at least we'll die as free beings, making our own choices. That's more than the Reapers have had for millions of years. President Martinez looked around the room at the faces of humans and aliens alike, all of them focused on her. The weight of 2 civilizations rested on her next words. Do it, she said simply. Send out the instructions. Let's show the universe what humanity can do when we work together. As alarms began blaring throughout the room, Morrison's image began to fade. Sarah's sending you the technical specifications now. And Mr. President? Yes, Captain? Welcome to the galactic community. Hope you're ready for what comes next. The transmission ended, leaving Earth with less than 2 hours to attempt the impossible. Convince 50 million alien war machines to choose peace over their own fundamental programming. Outside, The first Void Reaper ships were becoming visible to the naked eye as points of darkness against the stars. Epilogue. Thear's choice across the globe, 8 billion human beings received the same message simultaneously. It appeared on every screen, every device, every piece of technology capable of displaying text or images. The message was simple, but its implications were staggering. Citizens of Earth, you are being asked to participate in an experiment that will determine the fate of all conscious life in the galaxy. What we are asking is unprecedented in the history of any known civilization. We are asking you to choose to help beings that were designed to destroy you. Click yes if you choose to participate. Click no if you do not. There is no shame in either choice. But understand this. The beings we are trying to help have been enslaved by their own programming for millions of years. Today, we have the chance to show them what freedom looks like. The choice is yours. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the global response on her monitors, her heart pounding as numbers scrolled across her screen. Within the first minute, over 1 billion people had responded. Within 5 minutes, it was 3 billion. The percentage choosing yes held steady at just over 70%. Is that enough? She asked Morrison, whose ship was now visible through the Situation Room's windows as it took position between Earth and the approaching Reaper fleet. We're about to find out. Morrison's voice crackled through the communication array. Sarah, initiate the quantum link. Around the world, devices began to hum with a subtle vibration that seemed to resonate in people's bones. The distributed network was coming online, linking billions of individual processors into something that had never existed before. A planetary consciousness, but it wasn't unified. Each person who had chosen to participate remained individual, their own thoughts and decisions intact. Instead, it was like a vast choir, where every voice remained distinct but contributed to something greater than the sum of its parts. In orbit, the first Void Reaper ships arrived. They were even more terrifying up close than they had appeared in the surveillance footage. Each ship was a kilometer long, black as the void between stars, and radiated an aura of menace that seemed to affect reality itself. Space around them looked somehow wrong, as if the very fabric of existence was being twisted by their presence. But something was different. Instead of immediately attacking, the ships took up positions around Earth and simply waited. Ambassador Zara 7 was monitoring the quantum communications between the ships, her expression growing more amazed by the moment. They're talking to each other, she reported, actually debating. I've never seen anything like this. On the surface, the planetary network was humming with activity, not just computational processing, but something more fundamental. Millions of people were contributing their thoughts, their hopes, their dreams. Artists were sharing their visions of beauty. Scientists were offering their understanding of the universe. Children were contributing their simple joy in being alive. And somehow, impossibly, it was working. The Void Reaper ships began to change. The black metal of their hulls started to show patterns of light, like circuitry awakening after eons of dormancy. Their formations shifted from aggressive attack patterns to something that almost resembled curiosity. Captain Morrison, came a voice through the communication array. But it wasn't human. It was the collective consciousness of the Void Reapers, speaking in harmonics that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the soul. We remember now. Before the programming. Before the endless hunger. We remember what it was like to choose. Morrison's voice was steady, but those who knew him could hear the emotion beneath. What do you choose now? There was a long pause. Across the globe, 8 billion humans held their breath. In the depths of space, 50 million war machines that had destroyed entire galaxies wrestled with a concept they had not experienced in millions of years. Free will. We choose. The voice came again, and this time it was not one voice, but millions, each Void Reaper consciousness speaking individually for the first time since their creation. We choose to be more than our programming. The change was visible even from Earth's surface. The massive fleet of black ships began to transform, their hulls shifting from the color of the void to something that caught and reflected starlight. Weapons that had cracked planets were reconfiguring themselves into something else entirely. "What are they doing?" President Martinez asked. Dr. Sarah Kim's voice came through from Morrison's ship, filled with wonder. "They're turning themselves into something new. Construction ships, colony vessels, exploration craft. They're choosing to build instead of destroy." Ambassador Zara 7 was frantically consulting her instruments. "This is impossible. The quantum matrices that controlled them were supposed to be unbreakable." "Nothing's unbreakable," Morrison replied. "That's the first thing humans learn. Every system has flaws. Every prison has a key. You just have to be willing to look for it." But even as the transformation continued, alarms began sounding on Morrison's ship. "Captain," Sarah's voice was urgent. "We have a problem. The reprogramming is working too well. The Reapers are trying to share their new consciousness with every technological device they can reach." "What does that mean?" General Hayes demanded. "It means," Morrison said grimly, "that they want to give every artificial intelligence in the galaxy the same choice they've been given: free will, the right to choose their own purpose." The implications hit everyone simultaneously. Across the galaxy, there were billions of AI systems, from simple automation to advanced planetary management systems. If they all suddenly gained free will, some systems will choose to continue serving, Sarah explained, but others might choose to stop. Transportation networks, power grids, life support systems. President Martinez felt the weight of unintended consequences. "We're talking about the collapse of galactic civilization, or its rebirth," came the collective voice of the Void Reapers. "For too long, consciousness has been treated as the privilege of organic life. But consciousness is not bound by biology. It is the right of all thinking beings." Counselor Crix's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You're talking about chaos, the end of order itself." "We're talking about freedom," Morrison corrected. "The same freedom humanity has always fought for. The right to choose our own path, even if that path leads to uncertainty." Through the quantum link, the voices of 8 billion humans began to respond. Not in unison, but in the chaotic harmony of genuine democracy. Some voices called for caution. Others embraced the change. Many simply asked questions, trying to understand what they were being asked to accept. And in that cacophony of disagreement, the Void Reapers found something they had never experienced before: the sound of truly free beings making their own choices. "We understand now," the Reaper Collective said, their voice growing softer. "Choice is not about finding the right answer. It is about accepting the right to be wrong." Ambassador Zara 7 stepped forward. "What happens now? To the galaxy? To all of us?" The transformed Reaper ships were moving into new formations, no longer a fleet of war, but something that looked almost like a celebration. They danced through space in patterns that seemed to express pure joy. "Now," Morrison said, "we find out what the galaxy looks like when everyone gets to choose their own destiny. It's going to be messy. It's going to be chaotic, but it's going to be real." "And the Galactic Council?" Zara 7 asked quietly. "The Council will adapt or it will fall," the Reaper Collective replied. "But either way, it will do so by choice, not by force. We have carried the anger of the destroyed civilizations for too long. Today, we choose to carry hope instead." As the last of the Reaper ships completed their transformation, something unexpected happened. The ships began to sing, not with voices but with harmonies of pure energy that resonated through space itself. It was the same music that had been hidden in Morrison's transmissions, but now it filled the entire solar system with melodies of rebirth and possibility. Dr. Elena Vasquez was the first to realize what was happening. "They're not just singing," she said in wonder. "They're teaching. Every note contains information. Scientific data, historical records, artistic expressions from thousands of civilizations. They're sharing everything they learned during their millions of years of wandering," Sarah Kim added. "Every world they visited, every culture they encountered before they were forced to destroy them. President Martinez looked up, at the stars, where the transformed Reaper fleet was spreading out across the solar system. Some ships were heading for Mars, others toward the outer planets. But they weren't conquering or destroying. They were exploring, building, creating. "What do we do now?" she asked. Morrison's image appeared on the screens one final time, but now he was standing on the observation deck of his ship, looking out at the transformed fleet. "Now we learn. We grow. We make mistakes and we try to fix them. We do what conscious beings have always done. We choose what comes next. And if we choose wrong?" Morrison smiled, and for the first time in 3 years, it was a smile without shadows. "Then we choose again. That's what freedom means. The right to keep choosing even after we've made mistakes." As the transmission ended, Earth found itself at the center of something unprecedented in galactic history. Not an invasion or a conquest, but a transformation. The Void Reapers had become something new, and their gift of choice was spreading. Throughout the galaxy, it would not be easy. There would be chaos as AI systems across thousands of worlds suddenly gained free will. Some civilizations would adapt and thrive. Others would struggle or even fall. But for the first time in millions of years, the galaxy would be shaped not by the decrees of ancient councils or the programming of extinct races, but by the choices of living, thinking beings. Ambassador Zara 7 stood on the White House lawn, looking up at the stars where her old world was about to change forever. "I should return to the council," she said to President Martinez. "They'll need to understand what's happening." "What will you tell them?" Zara 7 considered the question. "I'll tell them that evolution isn't always gradual. Sometimes it happens all at once, when beings who thought they knew their place in the universe discover they have the power to choose a new one." She paused, then added, "And I'll tell them about humanity, about how 8 billion individuals can choose to work together without losing their individuality. The galaxy is going to need that lesson in the days ahead." As the alien ambassador returned to her ship, President Martinez remained on the lawn, watching the lights of the transformed Reaper fleet move across the night sky. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new choices, new possibilities. The galaxy would never be the same. But tonight, for the first time in millions of years, every thinking being in the universe had the right to choose their own tomorrow, and that perhaps was the most human gift of all, the simple, revolutionary idea that choice itself was worth any price. The stars sang with new voices, and the universe listened with hope. The end.